Hello Game Boys and Game Girls, I'm the Game Boy Guru, and welcome to another pickups video. Had a chance to go out and do a little bit of game hunting yesterday, Saturday, and so I thought I'd show you all what I picked up. First Goodwill location was a bust, but the first pawn shop location yielded some good stuff. So I picked up some PS3 games, and I got the, I'm assuming this would be a reboot of Prince of Persia. There was a whole series of games on the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, and then that kind of carried over to the 360, and then it got rebooted again, I think. I've got this on 360 already, but now I have the PS3 version as well. Got a greatest hits version of the original Assassin's Creed. I have this on Xbox 360 again as well, but now I have this version, so I'm kind of slowly building up my Assassin's Creed collection. And finally, for PS3, I got the Orange Box, and this has Half-Life Episode 2, Portal, and Team Fortress 2. Now, I don't have a lot of interest in Team Fortress 2. I'll probably check it out, but I do want to play Portal because I hear that's very good. And Half-Life Episode 2, it's a little confusing because it says Half-Life Episode 2, but it says the most complete Half-Life 2 collection to date. Includes complete versions of Half-Life 2 and Half-Life Episode 1. So I'm not sure if those two things together constitute Episode 2, or if Episode 2 is additional content. So I'll have to wait and see. But I messed with the original Half-Life years ago on PC, but it didn't really grab me at the time, probably because my PC was a little bit old and it didn't run very well. But I'll be interested to check this one out. And for the Wii, I picked up a couple of random games. One of those was Jeopardy, and that's kind of an interesting me-style rendition of Alex Trebek. And Obscure, The Aftermath. And as the game's name implies, this game is somewhat obscure. By all accounts, it's a good survival horror game, but apparently it didn't sell spectacularly, so it's a little bit more obscure in the wild, if you will. Pardon the pun. But I guess it's quite a good game, so looking forward to checking that out at some point. The case is really beat up, but I got some spare Wii game cases thanks to one of my RF Gen fellow collectors, and so I'll be definitely replacing that. Pawn Shop 2 also yielded some good stuff. So for the Wii, we got Hollywood Squares with the nice shiny glittery cover. We got Up. The movie is great. I don't know if the game will live up to that. Probably not, but why not? And then also got Wall-E. And I haven't actually seen this movie, but a couple more Disney games to add to the collection. Got some PS3 stuff as well. Got Need for Speed The Run. And they actually had two copies of this at the pawn shop. One that was missing the manual, and then one that had the outer art was kind of beat up. So I took the one that had the manual and the beat up art and moved it into here, which had no manual, completed it, and took it home. Also got Dead Island, Game of the Year edition. So now I have Dead Island on PS3 and Xbox 360. And Tekken 6. Now the funny thing is, I already had the Soul Calibur 4 and Tekken 6 combo disc that I picked up a couple of years back, I think. But now I finally have a standalone Tekken 6 PS3 version. Now what I really need is Tekken 6 for the Xbox 360, because I actually have a Tekken 6 Xbox 360 arcade stick that I picked up at Goodwill here, I want to say about 3 years ago for, or about a year and a half ago, I guess, for like $6. And, you know, of course, you buy it as is, but it works fine. And I've actually played a whole bunch of Raiden 4 with it. So So yeah, at some point I should probably try and pick up Tekken 6 on the 360 so I can use the Tekken joystick that I have with it. So that was all my pawn shop finds. Oh, excuse me, nope, I missed one. They had one Super NES game that was non-sports I picked up, and that is Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures. And this cart appears to have been bitten by a dog because there's all these sharp, deep teeth marks in it. Pretty bizarre, but interesting nonetheless, so I grabbed that. So that's all the pawn shop finds. Goodwill number 2 did yield a couple of things. I got Despicable Me, the game, for Wii. Again, good movie. The game probably won't live up to it, but they generally never do. And as my last pickup video showed, I got a bunch of Xbox Magazine demo discs, and they happen to have a couple more this time. So I got number 5, number 30, and number 31 with Alias. I got the Alias PS2 game as one of the absolute first games I got for that system because I'm a huge fan of the show. I've got all 5 seasons on DVD and have watched it multiple times. Great stuff. And I bought the Xbox version here a year and a half or so ago. And so pretty cool to have a demo of the game as well, since I'm such a big fan of the show. So that was Goodwill finds. I stopped over at another game store that I always hit, and I picked up the Super Mario All-Stars manual for the Super NES. I got Brothers in Arms Double Time, which apparently is just a collection of a couple earlier games. It is Road to Hill 30 and Earned in Blood. I'll have to double check. I think I have Earned in Blood, but I know I have Road to Hill 30. In fact, I've got that for PS2, and I think I've got both standard and Platinum Hits versions on the Xbox. But of course, this one will add the motion controls, aka being able to point your targeting reticle with the with the Wiimote, excuse me. So I'm hoping that will be a bit of a nice change. I guess we'll have to see. I'd be curious to know if, since the Wii is a little bit more powerful graphically, slightly anyway, than the Xbox and PS2, if this game looks any better on the Wii than on Xbox. And I also picked up Klonoa 2, Lunatea's Veil. Now, I'm not going to show the price tag here because the price that it shows I didn't pay. They were running a sale on PS2 games, and the gentleman honored that for me. They were going to pull this one out of the stack because it's one of the higher priced games, but since I'm a regular there, he went ahead and sold it to me at the discount. And so I got a pretty good deal on this. And so happy to have that. Then, after all of that, I stopped over at GameStop and picked up a couple things. So I bought another Switch game, and that is Disgaea 5 Complete. I've never played any of the Disgaea series games. I do have one on the PS2. I'll have to double check. I think I have one on PSP. And then, of course, I've got both of the Prinny games on PSP, which are pretty good little platformers with some puzzle elements. But I've never been into strategy RPGs, and so I'm curious about it. I figured I'd give it a go, and apparently this is very good, and so we shall see. I don't know if this will be difficult to get into since I'm not into strategy RPGs, but I'll find out. And lastly, also from GameStop, a bit of an impulse buy. As most of you probably know, GameStop has begun to sell retro games again. They've been taking them in, and of course there's been some controversy about people selling them repro games and getting trade-in money for them, or taking a case from a good game, doing a reprint label or taking a game case, putting a reprint label on it, and then putting a Madden board or something like that in there, and getting trade-in value for something like Earthbound or Musha, and then of course the games being completely not legit because they haven't been checking them. But this looks legit. So when I saw it in there, it was sitting on the shelf behind where the counter is that, of course, the computers and all that stuff is on. And so when I saw that there, the guy pulled it up, and the manager said, "Yeah, I was surprised to get this, because they have a couple of other retro games, some Pokemon stuff, and a couple of Super NES and N64 titles. But when I saw this one, I pretty much knew that I wanted to see it. And so he pulled it off the shelf and he showed me, and that is Sunset Riders for the Sega Genesis. And it is complete in box with the cart and the manual. The plastic tabs for the manual are still intact, and so that's great. The cart looks fantastic. There's a little bit of a crease at the top on the label, slight imperfection there, but otherwise it's in really good shape. You can tell that the case has been well used, though. The game has been taken out a bunch of times because you can see fingernail scratches all throughout the case. But everything looks legit. The case says Konami in it. The cartridge says Konami made in Japan on the back there. So this all looks legit. I'll open it up and clean it, of course, to be sure, but this looks pretty good. And so I know that there are differences between the Genesis and Super NES versions of Sunset Riders. There was an episode of Console Wars where the two guys did a comparison of the games, and the Genesis version is different enough from the Super NES version, which I have cart only, that it'll be interesting to play through them myself and note those differences. But I paid a little bit more for this than I normally would, so like I said, it was an impulse buy, but I haven't seen this one in the wild, complete, on a game shelf, probably since I started to get heavy into Genesis collecting back in 98, 99. And so I didn't pick it up then for whatever reason. I don't remember why. Maybe it was priced high then. I was mostly going for $5, $8, $10 games. Maybe this was more. But whatever the case is, it's mine now, and I look forward to checking that out. So that's all I've got for you guys today. What do you think? Anyone played the Genesis version of Sunset Riders, and what did you think of it? Especially as compared to the Super NES version. Will Disgaea 5 be difficult for me to get into as a newbie, first-time strategy RPG player? Is there something else I should start with instead, like Final Fantasy Tactics or the Shining series? I've got access to Shining. What is it? Shining. I don't even remember what they are now. The first two Shining games, I think they're on the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection, or something like Ogre Battle or whatever. Should I start with something besides Disgaea 5? And for any of you out there who have played the Brothers in Arms games, has anyone played this on the Wii, and how does it compare with the PS2 and Xbox? Which version would you recommend to me that I play first, either as the best version or maybe the worst version, so that then the next one I play will be a better experience? So let me know what you think. And again, that's all I've got for you. So as always, thanks for watching, thanks for playing, and game on.